Getting wealthy requires being an optimist. You got to swing for the fences. You got to take a risk. You got to be optimistic on humanity, people's ability to solve problems, become more productive, et cetera, et cetera. That's what you need to get rich. Staying rich is like the exact opposite. It requires pessimism and paranoia. This observation that the short run is a constant chain of recessions and bear markets and pandemics and all bad news, that you need to be able to survive financially to stick around long enough for your long-term bets to pay off. Bill Gates is a really fascinating story, which is that back in the 1970s, when he started Microsoft, he made probably the most optimistic bet of any businessman ever, which is in the 1970s saying everyone in the world should have a computer on their desk. That seemed like the most ridiculous thing at the time. It's such an optimistic bet, and that was a bet that he made. So his ability to get rich, his ability to be an optimist, it was like unparalleled. But there's this other hugely pessimistic side of Bill Gates, which is that he said from the day he started Microsoft, he wanted to have enough cash in the bank to where he can make payroll for a year without any revenue. And even through when he quit in the 1990s, he never let go of that pessimistic downside scenario. So getting rich versus staying rich is realizing that optimism and pessimism need to coexist. You have, like, the skills often seem like they contradict each other, but you need to have both of them mesh with each other in order to do well over time. You need to realize that you could be an optimist and a pessimist at the same time. And most people aren't. Most people view optimism and pessimism as black and white. You're one or the other, like pick a side, and you're contradicting yourself if you have elements of both. I think you see someone like Bill Gates, you realize like, no, there's a time and a place for both. I think one way to think about this for individuals is save like a pessimist and invest like an optimist. And again, those might seem like they conflict each other, but you need to save money with the idea that there's going to be hell around the corner, because there always is historically. Like we've learned that in the last year. Like no one's forecast in January of last year predicted a pandemic that's going to shut down the global economy. No one forecasted that Lehman Brothers wouldn't find a buyer, or that September 11th would shut things down. No one forecasts these things, but they happen. And so you need to save personally, and as a CEO, save for not just a rainy day, but a flood, which is what occurs. But you can also invest like an optimist and realize that over a longer period of time, if you can survive and endure those ups and downs, that you're the biggest optimist in the world who's going to be swinging for the fences and making bets that will pay off over the next 10 or 20 years. It's just getting those two things to coexist.